This episode of UDSP is brought to you by Audible. For a free 30-day trial and to receive a free audiobook, just head on over to audible.com/gamebreaker. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the UDSP, the WildStar show for, what is today? February 17th, 2013. Episode 36 of UDSP. Almost getting
19th.
close and close to
19th.
40. Oh, it's the 19th.
Wednesday.
That's right. Show notes are from Monday. It's Wednesday. What are you going to do?
We're in the future.
We are in the future. Mark Taylor's from the future. All right, we got a lot to talk about this week. We're going to cover talking about adventures, Carbine released a new video, and we've got a hint of the release window. All that more, but first, Mr. Farhan Siddiqui, how are you, sir?
Good, good. Glad to be able to get a UDSP in this week. A little
Yes,
bit earlier
yes,
than Friday.
Yes. Probably gonna. I don't even know if we're gonna change the day of UDSP. It seems like they keep dropping all of their news like right the day after we do UDSP, which doesn't really
Yeah.
make for a great
I guess they
show.
have Monday to prepare for it, and then Tuesday they drop stuff. So
They drop it on Tuesday.
I
We
don't know.
probably should permanently. Well, I don't know. We're gonna make some changes to the show. Maybe should think about changing the show day to maybe Wednesday, so you have the latest and greatest news. Also joining us, Mark Taylor. What's up, buddy?
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Representing the W3.
Heck yeah.
Dude, can't wait.
The Witcher.
Probably my favorite game of all time. Number one.
Did you get the chance
Two.
to do the test at E3 on it or whatever?
I got to sit in like that hour-long sit-through where they like.
Yeah.
I didn't get to play it, but I got an hour-long like walkthrough. I can't wait. I can't wait. We can pull out the jigsaw puzzle.
Which is kind of funny because I just found
Oh.
these.
Oh
So I
yeah,
ca-
yeah. They gave us a bunch of those things. That's right.
So I've got some codes to hand out if people want to download free versions of The Witcher 1 and The Witcher 2. And I don't know if it'll let us get into The Witcher 3 or beta or anything, but
No, I don't think it does, but I don't.
I got
Can't
game
wait
with
for that game.
Epic.
Can't wait for that game. I'm actually gonna go back and play one again. I downloaded it like over the weekend just to get ready because I haven't played it in so long. You play Far Out?
I played through Witcher 1. I haven't played through Witcher 2 yet.
One's kind of hard to get through. Two's amazing.
I'm going to be playing them.
I held off on 2 because of not liking 1 that much. But yeah.
No, one's a little rough. One's a good story, but like a lot of the combat systems and all that kind of stuff is a little janky. It's hard to go back and play it. Go play 2. I'm telling you, you pick it up on Steam for like something. I think it was like a week or two ago. It was like $2.99. It's the one game like I make everybody buy. Like I rally behind people buying it. Like it's like $3, and it is my number 1 game almost of all time. I think I love that series. All right,
Check it out.
I'm here to talk about some Wild Stars.
Oh, FYI, I got my E3 press pass, so we need to hook up at E3 this year.
I should probably get on that. I should probably get on pass. I don't have any passes yet. I don't have a hotel. I live here, so I don't know. I haven't even got my GDC stuff either, which is in March.
Oh, dude.
Oh gosh.
It's all right. It'll all work out. When is E3? I don't even know.
It's in... I don't know either. But I'm going to be all up in there. Like
All right,
Slipper.
well, yeah, I got to get on that. PAX, I guess, is coming up as well.
Yeah, I'm not going.
Starting to get there. Convention season starting.
I'll try to
is.
go to PAX East, maybe.
Favorite convention is definitely GDC, I think. I think the only other big one I really haven't been to is the Gamescom in Cologne. Got to make it to that one. All right, let's talk about WildStar.
Yep.
Big news today. It's a big day. So they raised the level cap, I hear, to what, 29 for, is it just select media or is it everybody or what?
It's still, press NDA, but a lot of streamers and fan sites and other people have been, they've let them into it and allowing them to access it basically. But if you're not clear that you are allowed to do it, don't go streaming because you're gonna get your account banned. So it's not fully revealed to everyone yet. I'm sure that that'll happen in sometime in the next few months. But for now, if you don't know that you're allowed to, like you have like the watermark not there and everything, like don't stream. But yeah.
So what does it bring? What is the what can we talk about now firsthand that we haven't been able to talk about before?
So at level 20, there are 2 dungeons. There's the Storm Talon's Lair and Kelvareth. And then there is at level 15, which was sort of janky because that was like the edge of the NDA before. But I know some people like showed off video of it, but they have the two adventures. They have the raid or Ride in the Void for the Dominion side and the High Crest Insurrection on the Exile side. They each have like a faction independent or I guess dependent adventure at level 15.
So I'm not even sure what we're looking at here, but this is about an hour-long video that we posted today. I'm glad I'm so informed.
Yeah, that's the High Crest Insurrection. So you can see like right now they're actually not in the adventure yet. This is like sort of like the entrance point. All of the adventures are. Do we want to just get right into what an adventure is?
Yes, that's what I wanted. That was my next question.
Okay,
is
cool.
like, so lay out what adventures actually are. We've been talking about it forever, and we speculated, but now we've got confirmation. So how do they work?
So, just to give a little bit of background on why they even have these in the game, there was a Adventures AMA also on Reddit today. So like today is like crazy, all this kind of stuff going on. But they were talking about basically the content designers at Carbine had a lot of neat ideas about things that they wanted to do in these environments that they had been creating for the open world. And basically they were like, oh, we could do this cool thing, we could do that cool thing. And they had like these quest chains and things that happened that had a lot of non-directly gameplay related stuff, like stuff that's just a little bit different than normal gameplay. And they were always a little bit uncomfortable with that. It's like, okay, this is not really the kind of thing we want to be filling up the entire open world with, this kind of stuff. And it's not really a dungeon because it's still using like this open world environment, and it's not like, go down the hallway, kill the boss, go to the next boss kind of thing. So they decided to just sort of branch out and make their whole new kind of instance content. And so what they have is adventures, and basically, this is very, choose your own adventure kind of thing. Like, as you go through the content, you make choices. Like, you're like, okay, do we want to, like, for the Ride in the Void, the very first thing that you do right when you get in is you have this choice of, okay, there are these prisoners who are getting free out of this prison. And you are like on the side of the, imprisoners, the Dominion prison. You're on the Dominion side, and so you have to decide, okay, what kind of, what do we want to do? Do we want to go stop a bunch of espers who were in prison from getting there? Do we want to stop them from getting a bunch of weaponry of like mining equipment that they're going to use against you? And depending on which choice you make, that actually determines what kind of trash mobs you're going to see throughout the rest of the dungeon. Because if you don't stop the espers, there's going to be a bunch of random crazy espers running around attacking you. And if you don't do other things, like somewhat later in the mission, there's like a choice where you might decide, okay, do we want to stop a bunch of prisoners who are about to escape out of a landing bay, or do we want to the prisoners took down the meteor shield around this thing because it's out in space, it's on an asteroid. And if you don't choose to do the meteor shield thing, you're like, oh, we want to get all the prisoners, then there's meteors crashing down, so you have these environmental hazards and things that are happening inside. So there's a lot of impact on what your choices do to what will actually happen within the mission. It's not just like, okay, I choose to kill that boss, and then I'm going to go kill that boss. And also, the content itself is not that traditional. So instead of it just being going and killing a boss or doing stuff, a lot of times you might have like a mission where like you might need to go do something. Like in the dev speak that they released, they talked about one that we can't talk about personally, but what they announced was that they have an adventure called the Malgrave Trail or something like that. And that's like basically Oregon Trail, except in WildStar. So you have like a caravan that you're doing. You have to like keep up medicine supplies, keep up water supplies, keep up doing this other thing.
Hold on. You say that, and then what I'll do is I'll give you your Oregon Trail music in the background while you do it. All right,
okay.
Ready? Go
ahead. All right, so you have to decide, we need to ford the river. And so how are you going to get across that? Are you going to choose this path? Are you going to try and actually just walk straight through? Or are you going to try to get around to a bridge or something? And depending on what you end up choosing to do, that's going to impact your whole experience. And that adventure specifically, the devs in the AMA that they did today, they were saying that's like one of their favorites because there's so much choice and there's so many impacts of random events happening, and that might impact you, because if you randomly have a bunch of food get spoiled, then you should probably choose, to pick a path that would take you around near some animals so that you can kill them to get some food for your caravan and all this other kind of stuff.
So is it definitely is it a bit more than just like an A B sort of kind of a choice? Is it like, pick A or B and then go one way and then pick A or B the next time around, or is it a little bit more dynamic in that and it actually kind of has?
So at the very least, in the first two adventures, like the Dominion side, Ride in the Void, and the High Crust Insurrection on the Exile side, you have 3 choices at each one, and then depending on which one you do, then that has impact on the other ones, but you still have like similar choices at the next route, kind of thing. So it's not like a branching tree necessarily.
How does this affect the outcome of the entire thing?
So you have different end bosses. I know from running Ride in the Void a couple times now. I think I've only run it 3 times total, but I've fought a different end boss each time, and so the encounters themselves are different. The actual mechanics of the fights are going to be different. Some of the routes that you're going to take. But the key point here, and one thing that isn't completely obvious if you're just looking at some of, especially like these first 2 dungeons, is that they're basically trying to they have these assets, these art assets, and a lot of it is actually going to be very similar to what you see. So like what we're seeing right now is the High Crust Insurrection one. That's actually Auroria, like the zone, the level, what is that, like 15 or so to like 20 something zone for the Dominion. Except this is like now a Exile side adventure. But I mean, it's not like they're just like cheesing out by reusing a lot of the content. They're actually doing new mechanics. They're doing a lot of new cool stuff. And like you see here, they've got these searchlights going on because there's these giant Dominion blimps, and they're like trying to firebomb you as you go through. So you have to like sort of sneak around, and they have a lot of really neat ideas of what they're doing. So like the one that's in Whitevale, is one that they've talked about a little bit in like the dev speak and the other thing. It's a MOBA, so you actually have your characters leveling up a little bit as you're going through. You're actually gaining power and you're trying to capture stuff, and your goal is to fight these enemy AI champions. And they actually talked about one thing that I thought was really interesting was that, well, normally you want to go into these adventures with like your regular trinity, like you have your tank, your healer, your DPS. You for that one specifically, the MOBA, in the AMA they were talking about maybe instead of thinking about that as your roles, you might want to think about more traditional MOBA roles. Like you might want to have a carry, you might want to have a support, you might want to have those kinds of interesting roles. So that sort of blew my mind. I hadn't even thought of that. Like that you might actually like build your LA a limited action set and bring a group in that would be better for that kind of content. So they're doing a lot of really creative stuff.
Interesting kind of play on content. Mark, have you got a chance to do any adventures?
I have not, and once I can confirm that we can actually live stream, I'm going to do it through Game Breaker and hopefully level up through here. So we've got some 24s, or I have a 24. So I'm going to get together with Farhan, maybe you, maybe some other folks from the Game Breaker Nation, and get a group together and try to live stream leveling up and going through this.
So this is like an endless loop of adventures. I mean, how many are there in the game? How do they chain together? How does that all work?
So one thing that part of the reason why they develop these adventures thing, and obviously this is taking away resources from other parts of the game. If they're developing these things, it's not like they're just getting it for free, right? They are reusing some of the art assets, but a lot of the scripting is way more in depth than even a dungeon would have, because in a dungeon the scripting demands are basically like, okay, you script the boss encounter, right? Like, oh, the mob does this, and then maybe there's like some environmental hazards or doing other stuff. No, now you have like objectives, and you have things like specific AI concerns. So, for the MOBA, for example, you have to actually have the champions have enough AI to switch lanes and do stuff like trying to gank. And, I don't know if they have jungling in there, but if they do, then, you have all that kind of AI that you have to actually script in. So it definitely takes up resources. As a result, at Endgame, they've talked about some of these numbers. They're going to have 6 adventures in the game total. 4 of those are going to have veteran modes, so level 50 version that's going to be like harder. Kind of like heroics in World of Warcraft or whatever, and then they have the 4 dungeons that they have, and then those will also have the veteran modes as well. So every 5 levels, you're gonna have some sort of instance content, whether that be an adventure or a dungeon, from level 15 onward. So they sort of fill in the gaps.
How long does an adventure kind of typically last?
It can take a while. They're definitely longer than your average dungeon group, especially like if you are new to it.
2 hours, 4 hours. I mean.
around an hour to 2 hours, I would say. If you're pretty experienced in it and you're trying to actually do a speed run, because they do actually have like speed running as a thing, you have the medal system basically that depending on how well you do, like how many deaths you have, how quickly you complete it, how many optional objectives you actually complete as you go through, you get awarded a medal that gives you extra loot at the end. And so if you're speed running it, then I would say it's closer to an hour. But if you are, new to it, it's your first time through it, it'll probably end up taking around 2 hours. Maybe even a little bit more if you're wiping a lot. Depends.
Is this like WildStar's version of like World of Warcraft's Caverns of Time?
Caverns of Time. So they definitely can do some of that kind of stuff because the whole idea behind the Caverns of Time, I mean, like not lore-wise, but just design-wise, is that they can go back to interesting moments in Warcraft history, right? They can go back in time and show off something that happened. The adventures are a little bit different because this is something that didn't even really ever happen. This isn't like, okay, this is in the past, this is in the future. This is a simulation, right? They have the caretaker, who is that, they showed off in the dev speak, or I guess not the dev speak, the flick, and just in general with the teaser trailers and stuff. He is this Elden construct that was set to sort of take care of all of their experiments that the Elden were doing. And one of them, I guess, is this Adventures Initiative, where he's trying to analyze the capabilities of different races or whatever, so the Dominion, the Exiles or whatever. And so he's putting in these simulations. It's like, okay, for this High Crest insurrection, for example, how would you as an exile turn the Dominion's people, like the people of Auroria, which is a Dominion zone, against the Dominion? So, they're farmers, they're lowborn Cassians for the most part. How would you actually influence them and make them actually want to, revolt against them? Do you just go around and you sort of point out some of the flaws that they have? Do you try to free prisoners and get them to help you raise up an army, or how are you actually going to do it, kind of thing? So
interesting, yeah, Mark. I mean, do you see yourself doing a lot of these? You think a lot of people are going to actually using this to actually level your tunes?
I think they will, relative to the range of levels that can participate in the different versions. But more importantly, I think the great thing about it is the fact that they're trying to not really innovate in the sense that it's something completely new because it's a kind of a MOBA style, but they're at least trying to throw different types of gameplay there. So they're eating their own dog food, to use a very overused IT term. They're actually trying to really utilize things that they say, and the thing that they keep saying is we want to try to use the things that are good from MMOs and try to shave or reduce where relative. And you can hear that's my kid upstairs, my 1-year-old. And so by throwing this in, they're throwing in a game mechanic that people can recognize and they can have fun, where it's not necessarily a traditional MMO construct, and just keep kind of doing things like that. And they're also doing the thing that we talked about, months ago, coming up with an adventure or some kind of dungeon or some kind of instanced combat or adventure, if you will, obviously no pun intended, in which case it's not monolithic, or it's not one way. It's something where it does give you choice, and they can come up with different endings, stuff like that, which is, remember Farhan, we kept kind of trying to come up with how exactly are they going to end up doing that, right?
Sorry if I keep using references to other games, but just trying to give everybody a sense of understanding what these things are. So you bring up this game a lot on the show, Mark, which is SWTOR. I mean, would you say it has any similarities to sort of the flashpoints in SWTOR that have group decisions?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I hadn't thought of it in that way, but yeah, I mean, relative to the choices that you make, it's going to open up more or different endings. Obviously, in that game, it was good, the fact that they were trying to give you choice. The problem is, I think overall, is because of the alignments that they had, they were still kind of pigeonholed into how they were going to come up with it. Whereas this seems to just be more binary. It just is like, okay, we've all chosen it, and that's what we're doing. And you're going to take the pluses or the minuses relative to that. Whereas with Tor, they ultimately had to kind of back out of it and be like, well, I chose good, and I still will get my good points, or whatever, if that makes any sense, or your light side points. Which I have to admit here and now, I'm going to use this like an AA meeting. Hi, my name's Mark, and I'm playing Tor again.
Good. Sorry to hear that. I'm very sorry to hear that. You'll get off the junk. Don't worry. You'll get back on it.
All right. So.
So what? All right. So there's obviously a lot of choice here, which gives, I guess, I mean, a lot of replayability to all of these things. You've played how many times? 3 runs, and it's been different every time for you, Faron?
For Ride in the Void, yeah, because we chose different missions, the different times. I wasn't even in with the same group. I just happened to be like running it, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna pick this one this time, and then we ended up having something different happen, which was pretty cool. I think it would be cool if they had ended up implementing something so that you could see how many times you've done different routes, because sometimes I didn't remember which, just from the description, because basically the way that you choose is you get to a point, and it'll open up a little dialogue box, and it'll be like 3 different choices and a little description of what happens in each choice. But sometimes I wouldn't remember. I was like, was that an Esper like prisoner or whatever? Or was that with something else or something? And so sometimes I would just click on it randomly. I didn't really care. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go through kind of thing. But it ended up being different, whichever the case. So that was sort of cool. One thing that is a little bit weird as you go through these adventures, I don't know about how it'll change with some of the later game ones, but at least for like the first 2, because they're a relatively small area. I mean, Highcrest is a little bit more open because it's like this open world kind of thing. The other one's on an asteroid, so you have like these sort of caverns and caves that you're going through, and like a mining base, or I guess it's more of a prison, but it looks like a mining base. Anyway, there's a lot of backtracking back and forth. So you're like, okay, I'm gonna do this mission, then something bad is happening over here in this part of the prison, so I need to go back over there. And so it was a little bit confusing, like the first time through, just knowing like, oh, where do we go? Like, because usually when you're in a dungeon, you used to we move forward, right? We always just keep moving forward throughout the layout of the dungeon. But this way it was like, oh no, you chose to do this thing at the landing base, so you actually have to go back to where your dropship dropped you off. And it's like, that makes sense when you think about it, but just the first time you play through it, if you're used to just running forward in your dungeon content, it's a little bit confusing. You're like, oh, no, we need to go back down this way, and then we have to go down the shaft and do all this other stuff.
I think a lot of adventures in general are like slightly confusing, because I mean, even Carbine's Anlath said on Reddit that they've got like a couple of more in-depth articles coming out that will cover adventures in more details, and it's like, really, you need multiple articles, in-depth articles to cover adventures? Like, so I think a lot of people have questions to try and understand how they are. I mean, do you almost think that they're are they really pushing the ball forward as far as like MMO design? Is this like a really big addition to the genre that we haven't seen before, or is it just kind of an iteration? Because I see people in chat room talking about like instant adventures in Rift, and I made up the SWTOR, sort of comparison, and Caverns of Time. So it's like, is it like kind of a combination of all of these things we've sort of seen before, just done kind of a new way?
So like the choices, just to compare the choices in, say, Star Wars to the choices here, a lot of the choices in Flashpoints were more of a narrative thing, right? Like, you decided, does this guy live or die or something, but the actual encounters didn't change very significantly. Maybe you would have like an explosion happen in the background and some more mobs come in, but for the most part, the actual dungeon itself played out the way that it was meant to play out, depending, almost no matter what your dungeon was. It was just a narrative thing, and if you didn't know about the other choices, it would feel like, oh, this definitely is really related to my choice, but it's actually, on replays, if you pick the other side, then you realize you're doing almost exactly the same thing, regardless of what it is that you end up choosing. And this, the choice actually matters, because it's actually determining what encounters you're going to see. You're not, if I pick to go to, choice A, I'm not going to see B and C in that run, because that is completely separate, content that you have to actually choose that thing in order to actually see it. And the effects of not doing B and C might actually still influence A, but that doesn't mean that, I'm going to see that exact encounter, I'm going to see that exact content. Now, in terms of the actual content itself, for a
completionist, I could say, okay, that I get it. A lot of people want to see every little single bit of content, but for people who aren't really, what's really the motivating factor to keep just doing these over and over and over? Like, what if I've done it, but like, I don't know if I necessarily care that I have to see that one little itty bitty piece of content or sliver of the adventure that like I didn't see the first time around.
Right. I mean, like, it's not.
I think it might be I was just gonna say, I think it would be the fact that people would want to be in something where they can have instanced combat as opposed to doing the quest system that's out in the open world.
Well, a lot of the replayability doesn't just come from the choices, right? I mean, it does come from the choices because like okay, you are doing content with your group, and you want to actually like be reusing some of that content if it's going to be like a dungeon thing. Like creating a single bit of instance content is expensive, and so if you don't have replayability in it, then that's just like a game design consideration. But just in terms of players wanting to actually do it, like the choices add to a little bit, like in terms of completionist, but also it has to do with the kind of content it is, because yeah, Right in the Void and High Crest Insurrection are pretty straightforward. Like you're mostly just having like this little adventure in an environment. You're trying to free prisoners, you're trying to, or I guess imprison prisoners on the one side and free prisoners on the other side. But whatever it is you're trying to do, it's pretty straightforward. The other content is they're taking cues from other kinds of gameplay. Like obviously MOBAs are really they have a lot of replay value in them, right? Whenever you play Dota or you play League of Legends or whatever, it plays out a little bit differently because of the laning, because of the champion choices, because of all that kind of thing. So what Carbine is doing is they're actually looking at these other game types, and they're sort of saying, okay, why do people like to redo that content? How can we actually use those similar elements into our game to actually make our content more replayable? And I think that is a large part of what makes adventures replayable. Not just the fact that it's choices, it's also just the fact that it's, content that actually breaks away from the normal dungeon grind or the normal, raiding or whatever.
All right, so there's adventures. That's definitely the big reveal with the level cap being increased. What else are we going to see now that we're increasing to 29? What are the other big reveals we're going to see?
So, I mean, you'll be able to show off in streams and in other places the I guess Aurora, which is the Dominion zone that sort of goes from 15 to around 20 something, and then a little bit of Whitevale, which is the next zone after that. That's the zone with the little squid zombie things that sort of attach to people's heads and mind control them. At least the first like 3/4 of that zone we'll be able to show off, and then on the Exile side, you would be able to see Gallerus, which is similar level range to Aurora, and the again the first 3/4 or so of Whitevale, because from Whitevale onward the zones are shared between Dominion and Exile.
Mark, what are you most excited about seeing up at the 29? Or show off to people? What do you think people are going to mostly react to now that they get to see this on live streams?
I think the thing is outside of what we've talked about so far is going to be the differentiators between the classes in PvP. So to kind of take it in a different direction, because how every class comes into their own at different levels. Usually, it's not like
are they really
at level
starting to open up now.
I think so. My kid upstairs killing me. I think that the thing is you're going to see which classes really are going to come into their own to be, okay, this is going to be the tank that we want at 50. Because right now I think the jury's still out. Is the Stalker tank going to be the tank? Is the Engineer tank going to be the tank, or what have you? So you're going to figure that out, I think you're going to figure that out along the way. But then you're going to also see what classes are going to be viable in PvP. So, for example, up to 15, the arguably, depending on how good you are, the Stalker kind of feels like it's at a disadvantage. Obviously, if you're better in different ways you play, up to what we've seen thus far, I've heard from a lot of folks that they don't like really playing the Stalker that far because they don't really have the skills. Now it opens up once you get a little bit higher, because then they start getting some of the tank abilities, some of the roots, some of the different pounces, and so then they seem to kind of come into their own. So I don't know if that's something that predicated on the beta feedback they're going to change and rebalance, or if that just is the way it is, if that makes any sense.
From a super nerdy point of view, one thing that I'm excited to actually show off is the at level 25 you get the ability to get the first major tier for your abilities. So that actually it's like okay, you're putting tier points in them, they're just getting stronger or whatever, but at level 25 is the first time that you're allowed to actually put enough points in that you would get a change on the ability, like this ability will also do a CC break whenever you use it, or whatever other kind of things. So I've been playing a lot of medic, like just devouring medic content. So I think I'm going to be making some guides and some other things to show off a lot of the cool stuff that medics get. And a lot of it's like right after level 15, so I was like, but now, we can finally talk about it, so that'll be fun.
Now everybody's talking about it. So yeah, everybody's on Twitch today, all over the place. Showing
Yeah.
off level 29 content. So check it out. All right, I want to talk about this launch window. First, I want to tell you guys about a great deal we got going on with Audible. If you guys have not checked out Audible, I want to hook you up with a free 30-day trial and a free audiobook just by going to audible.com/gamebreaker. Just go to that URL, sign up, make an account, download the app to your iOS device, your iPhone, your iPad. Maybe you got an Android, they got an app for that too. Kindle Fire, they've got that. They've got an app for almost everything. You guys excited for the old Game of Thrones coming up? It's coming up. It's coming up. It's coming up.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
If you
Yes.
guys might want to catch up, they've got all the books. You can start with book 1. Clocks in at a whopping 33 hours and 50 minutes.
I'm actually
Love it.
listening to that now.
It's great. I love it. It's all in character
Thrones.
voice as well.
Book 1 of A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin, read by Roy Dotrice. Prologue. We should start back, Garrett urged as the woods began to grow dark around them. The wildlings are dead. Do the dead frighten you? Sir Waymar Royce asked with just the hint of a smile. Garrett did not rise to the bait. He was an old man, past 50, and he had seen the lordlings come and go. Dead is dead, he said. We have no business with the dead. Are they dead? Royce asked softly. What proof have we? We'll show them, Garrett said. And if he says they're dead, that's proof enough for me.
Great read. Great read. Check it out, Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire, Book 1. They're pretty much all up here. Book 2, Book 3, before wherever you're at in the series. You should go check it out. Start catching up. Game of Thrones coming back with Season 4 on HBO, coming real soon. So now's the time to get hyped up and ready. So maybe while you're gaming, you could be doing adventures listening to the old Game of Thrones. Check it out.
Hell yeah.
Go over to audible.com/gamebreaker. Sign up today. Make an account. Check it out. I know when you try their service, you're going to love it. Audiobooks on your iOS device. I love it. The other thing I do with my, they've got a 2x speed. That's how I get more done. I actually listen to about 2-3x speed. Get them done faster. Cut that time down. Hey, I got stuff to do, Farhan. I got things to do. I got to get through 34 hours of Game of
Optimizing
Thrones.
my audiobooks.
I do. It does. It's variable speed. I love it. Hit that variable speed, get through them a little bit quicker. I need the information. That's it. But check it out. Audible.com/gamebreaker. Love having them on a sponsor. So support Gamebreaker by supporting our sponsor, Audible. All right. So maybe some of you have missed it, but it's pretty big news. So the latest NCSoft earnings call has revealed that WildStar is expected to launch in mid-2014. So that is extremely vague. But
Yeah.
it's at least some sort of
So if
confirmation. We were kind of all expecting this. I don't know. I could have seen late 2014, but now they're saying mid. I was thinking Christmas.
So half full, cup half empty. What is mid? You can argue it's June or July. So relative to what we said earlier, E3 comes out June 10th through the 12th, right?
Mhm.
Right in your hometown. So being a betting man, do you think it comes out right before E3 or right after E3?
Ooh.
Because what's the hype? I mean, at that point in time, are they going to be able to take advantage of the hype cycle at its pinnacle and show something at E3 and then drop it like in July? Because then that would still be
Yeah,
mid.
you come out after E3, don't you? You come out after. You use E3 to drop something really big to get more people excited. Because if it's already out, the excitement's not worn off, but it's already out. So
Yeah,
it's not much
so
to
no one
show.
cares.
You can just go play it. So then you really have nothing to really show.
And then PAX Prime is like August now, right? So by August, so here's the thing, E3 is a professional event. And they don't know, and as you saw from you and I both saw at E3 last year, they had almost a zero showing. They were at Nvidia's area. So the only thing
With
I
a
can think is
laptop.
two.
Two laptops. Sorry, two laptops stuck in the corner.
So
Gotta get it right.
I felt
no
like
one
the
knew they were
biggest
there.
a-hole, but whatever. So do they wait to ride the hype curve, whatever, of PAX Prime out in Seattle and then drop it, or do they get it out the door before then? Because
no, because PAX all about the communities. You drop it after E3, then you go to PAX and do some big community event. You rally, you get all the troops you get all the WildStar fans rallied up, and you do something with them there. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, I hope you're right. I mean, that's probably the way it'll go down. Well, let's hope anyway, right?
Because since it's such a community event, then you get a lot of people there who are actually fans of the game, playing it. They're excited about it. They want to meet the devs, and that's where they go to meet everybody. So they throw a nice party. Everybody says hi, gets drunk, and it's fun. Yeah, I'm thinking they drop it right after E3. It's a good time. I was really thinking they were going to push closer to Christmas, to be honest. I thought they were going to push.
I did too. I thought so as well. And I thought, and the reason why I thought so,
I mean, they could still push. There's no way. Like, we don't know that. Just because they said in the earnings call, I mean, I wouldn't put it past them to still just be like, hey, we need some more time.
Maybe in South Korea, mid-2014 is December. But, you know, the point is I think they need to distance themselves from the launch of Elder Scrolls, just because they're coming out April.
As much as possible.
Yeah. Right, wrong, or different. You know, there are fanboys and there's haters of that game, right? So the thing is regardless of what people are thinking of it, it's got a 19-year and I guess now 20-year history of Elder Scrolls, right? So there are people that are going to buy that game that have never played an MMO, kind of like with Tor. You know, they just went there because they were Star Wars people. There are people who are going to go to Elder Scrolls because they don't know jack crap about MMOs, but they know that they love Elder Scrolls. And the converse of that is true. So that's going to get a large amount of box sales or downloads or whatever. Who knows how long the free-to-play model is going to last, but that's for a different show at a different time. But the point is, you know, it's going to be a force to be reckoned with, and so I wouldn't want to be anywhere around that explosion when it goes down, you know?
Yeah. I feel like on the other hand, though, that, you know, for Elder Scrolls, for whatever it is, like I'm not saying that it's nothing, but I think that WildStar's bigger competitor is going to be Warlords of Draenor, and so they want to get in well ahead of Warlords coming out, because if Warlords, that's going to be the thing that's going to steal people away from WildStar after WildStar comes out. So if they wait too long and then Warlords comes out, like, I don't know when it's going to come out, but say September, and they waited till August, then that is going to be killer on WildStar's first 1 month thing, because people are going to play it for 1 month and they're going to be like, no, I'm done. Because a lot of them aren't even going to be finished leveling. They're still going to be leveling up, and then they're going to be like, okay, I can go play WoW and get my free level 90 and pay $60 for another level 90 or whatever they want to do, and you know, just level up to 100 and start raiding. So I think that they're going to want to be at least more than 1 month ahead of Warlords. And I think that that's going to be a much bigger determiner of when they actually end up putting it out.
Blizzard seems to have a really, a track record of waiting for other people to announce dates, and then they release.
And then they just put it right there.
They put it on that same day or let's say week. Yeah,
I mean, it's definitely something that they're aware of. That may be part of the reason why they've been waiting. They don't want to give as much notice to, a Blizzard about. Okay, you got a plan for this thing, kind of thing.
So they're waiting for them to screw ESO over before they announce. Okay, let them screw Elder Scrolls over. They're coming out April 5th. Okay, we're coming out in June. Whatever. Blah, blah, blah.
I'm surprised that beta hasn't started yet, because the impact of the I don't follow Warcraft very closely, but I follow Lore because I love him, and reading his posts are actually really enlightening about some of the game design decisions, and they are so different about all the different things that they're changing in Warcraft. So I feel like this has to be a decently sized beta. They can't wait forever. They can't just wait for WildStar to announce and then immediately drop the beta kind of thing. Which maybe who knows why they've been delaying getting that thing out there. But whatever the case is, WildStar really needs to get in before, at more than 1 month ahead of
when
Warlords.
Do you guys think we'll see? So when do you think we'll see this? I mean, WildStar's been opening up the beta a lot more. Lots of keys getting thrown around this week. They did this big 40,000 key thing. I've heard there's more coming maybe. When do you think they just go for full open beta? When do they just go open? When does that happen? Is that going to happen soon? It seems like it feels like it's getting closer and closer to that.
It definitely is coming closer, and we're definitely seeing that in game. A lot of the scope of the changes is it's still there. Obviously, we just got they announced themselves that the most recent patch like unlocked up to through level 50 for beta testers and other kind of stuff. So they're definitely still putting out content, but the scope of like tweaks, let's say, is getting narrower down. So they're like, okay, we don't want to implement a whole new spell idea at this point, kind of thing, or something like that. So it's definitely like coming down to that point. And like for say this 40,000, WildStar's done a lot of pretty big beta like weekend events so far, but they've all been stress tests, like real legit stress tests where they're tweeting about like things being on fire and crazy things going down. Like they actually, like, I think on one of their first stress tests they like actually had a machine like have its RAM crap out in the middle of the stress test kind of thing. So it's actually hardware damage as a result. This 40,000 key thing is not a stress test. This is a marketing beta, and they're treating it as such. So
that's an interesting statement. How do you know that?
Because they've said it. It's the way that they've been marketing it. The way that they've been marketing it is like this is a legit, like, okay, we're doing a nice beta for people to enjoy the game, as opposed to for people to hammer the login information over and over again. So, I mean, WildStar's coming along.
Mark?
There's progress.
I sense skepticism from.
I mean, it sounds right, but I mean, I think at the same time, and I don't know, just I hadn't seen that where it was like a marketing thing. I still think they're just trying to stress test the crap out of their server, because
I mean, I don't expect it to go perfectly.
From what I've seen, I've only seen a couple of other servers in the beta, here and there when they try to do the stress test. But the thing that we don't know is how many people or logins or concurrent sessions, if you want to be an IT guy, have they had to the server. So I don't know how big each server is. You know what I mean? So when they say 40K, I need to go back in there and try to look and try to count the different servers in the server list to try to kind of, in my head, get a rough estimate of how many people that they're going to have per server. And the only reason why I say that is because, ESO's big thing is the mega server. And from a technology standpoint, the whole requirement for all these different servers is really not there anymore. So I guess I'm just trying to figure out the stress test vice the marketing thing,
So,
because at the end of the day,
I mean, like, if you look at how they gave out the keys, though, like, so it's 40,000 keys, but they did it like with a partnership with another site, didn't they? So it's not like it's just like the way that they did it normally, where they're just like picking people out and they're sending them the stress test key or whatever. They're, if they're doing it with another website, I feel like that's not stress test territory anymore.
Okay, I mean, because they're giving them out to all the fan sites. I haven't seen any of the press sites get keys yet, so that's an interesting.
The fan site keys are full closed beta keys, though. They aren't like the weekend event thing. So.
Right, true, but I'm saying at this point in time, if we're talking about mid 2014, dude, it's February. We're over halfway through February. That's only halfway through 2014 is 4 months from now. So my point is if you look at normal, look at the past and the way these MMOs, they need to kind of get to someplace with the open beta kind of ASAPidly. And in the next month or two, they need to open up beta, or they need to do a couple more weekends of throwing out 40,000 keys to truly airtight test their server load capacity, and then start just trying to finish the polish, because the game needs to get to done if you're talking about a mid-2014 launch. So I'm not trying to say the sky is falling, but I'm just trying to say, wait a minute, let me put the needle back on the record, think about this, and backtrack and do backwards planning. If you're talking about July or June of 2014, the last 2 months, that game is cooked, the gold disc is polished, you are now setting up your infrastructure for your whole entire logistical stuff, your whole entire supply chain management activity in order to get product to the stores so that they can deliver it to customers, so that they have some kind of mechanism to pick it up. Or they need to now start stress testing the digital downloads and the mirror sites and the CDN technology, which most people don't even think about CDN technology, to come up with mirrored sites that are now going to be able to accept the load so that people can download all of these clients, so that they're dormant, but they'll go active at a certain time. They then also need to come up with their strategy on how do they start giving people the ability to download in phase.
Cheap.
These are important things that are going to basically predicate when they launch.
I feel like they can get that stuff done though, and like J.K. Kennedy's saying in chat, like, they said that all that they're gonna do as far as open beta goes, like fully open. I mean, even then, who knows how open beta is? Does that just mean like no NDA? Does that mean like anyone who wants to can download the client and get in or whatever? They said that they're gonna do that 1 month before launch, so we're gonna know all of that when pre-orders start.
And then do a day one patch then.
Day one patch. I would expect patches during the open beta cycle, just knowing the way that Carbine's going. That they're not afraid of doing.
No,
I'm
talking about launch clients. So like they give people the ability to kind of like you do on Steam, give people the ability to download the core game, let's say 3 weeks ahead of time, but people can't play it, and then on day one of the game or early access or whatever, you can start playing it unlocks, but then you have like a 1 or 2 gig download of all the deltas in the code, right?
I don't see why they couldn't just have like if they had that, like a 1 or 2 gig whatever, they could whenever it was ready to be pushed, they could push that out and then people could download it. I mean, they're already having, like even for this 40K or whatever, those people have access to the client now. They're able to download it, I would assume, and patch it and everything, and then but they can't see anything in the server list. So until then.
Hint taken.
Mark Taylor, follow him on Twitter at Gildumbra. How's that mind ball?
We'll be trying to live stream some Titanfall later, by the way.
Oh, I might tune in for that. More exciting than UDSP.
Well, it's going to be live streamed through GameBreaker, so in case you didn't know.
Oh, then I'll definitely tune in. I love that channel.
It's the best one.
Now that I know they got like discounts on crap. Nice.
There you go. It's even better. Farhad Zadiki, follow him on Twitter, Unindel, UNINDEL, right here on UDSP. Follow me at Gary Gannon, follow Gamebreaker TV, Gamebreaker TV, go to facebook.com/Gamebreaker TV, and check out our new deals page, GamebreakerTV.tv/deals. That's what Mark was talking about. I'm not Farhad. Wrong, lower third. Have a great week. We'll see you next week for some more UDSP.